How's it going, guys, and welcome back to the channel once again for another Star Wars gaming video. And in this video we're going to be talking about the elusive Battlefront 3. Mainly, should there even be a Battlefront 3? I see so many people, and particularly on my last video talking about the future of Star Wars games, I see all these people saying that Battlefront 3 is the obvious choice for an upcoming Star Wars game. But it seems like there is always someone to combat that notion, and that they think Battlefront 2 should get continued and that the game should just be built on from there. And then there are some people that say that, there wouldn't be enough content for a Battlefront 3 to be justified, and that they should focus on maybe Battlefront spin-offs. So, it really has me thinking, what is the best decision for the Battlefront franchise going forward? Well, we're going to take a deep dive into that question in this video. I see all sides of the story here, I understand where most people are coming from, and I want to put the question to you guys directly as well. What do you think should happen next for the Battlefront franchise? Comment below and let me know. But of course, before we dive into this, a huge thank you is in order, as since the last upload, we crossed 100,000 subscribers on the channel, which is just insane. So a big thank you for that, and a big thank you to all the people that dropped by the 100,000 subscriber special live stream the other day. Big up to you guys. But now, let's get into this video. So, should there be a Star Wars Battlefront 3? This is something that is starting to get pretty hotly debated amongst Star Wars gamers for a variety of reasons. A few months ago, there was a rumor floating around that there were no plans for a Battlefront 3, but since then, a lot has changed, and like I've spoken about previously on the channel a few times now, EA have publicly mentioned that they will be doubling down on Star Wars, and for a lot of people that just seems an all-out guarantee that, a Battlefront 3 is coming somewhere down the line. As it would be the obvious choice for the next big Star Wars game given how big the Battlefront franchise is, but a lot of people think that the existence of a Battlefront 3 just would not be justified from a content and even a graphics perspective. Now let's take a look at Battlefront 2 for a second here. In Battlefront 2 we have all three eras of Star Wars in the main Skywalker saga storyline: the Clone Wars, the Galactic Civil War, and the newly concluded sequel era. Battlefront 2 was able to justify its own existence very easily, as it was bringing the Clone Wars and sequels to the Battlefront franchise, as 2015's Battlefront only focused on the original trilogy. But realistically, the major selling point was the Clone Wars and prequel trilogy content as a whole. When we all saw Darth Maul in that first trailer, I remember the internet going absolutely crazy, so that was the major hook for Battlefront 2. More eras, and in turn, a ton more content. Not to mention a single player campaign with a canon storyline, which Battlefront 2015 did not have, not even close. So what would the major selling point of a Battlefront 3 be? What could it possibly bring to the table to justify its own existence as a successor to Battlefront 2? Those are the questions that a lot of people have, because realistically, Battlefront 2 got most of the mainstream film content in the game over the course of its live service, with only a few characters and locations not coming to the game, such as Mace Windu, Padme, Ahsoka Tano, and Coruscant, just to name a few things. But are those things enough to justify a brand new game? For some, that's a flat out no. A lot of people think that Battlefront 2 should have just kept getting built on and developing into one massive game, and then for it to carry over to next-gen consoles at the end of 2020. Now, I definitely understand where these people are coming from, I totally get it. I go and I play Battlefront 2 and I cycle through the game modes or the heroes, and I always sit there and say, yeah, there are things here that are missing. Now personally, whilst I understand where these people are coming from that want Battlefront 2 to just keep expanding, I think a Battlefront 3 is still probably the best thing for the Battlefront franchise. Mainly because I just don't see Battlefront 2's live service being reinstated, which I have made clear many times on the channel, and I don't want to see the Battlefront franchise go on ice indefinitely for years and years. So ideally, I would like to at least see a Battlefront 3 go into development within the next, let's say, year. Now ideally, I would love for Battlefront 2 to come back and lead us up until the release of a Battlefront 3. That would be amazing. But reality must be kept in check here. The odds of that happening are pretty much zero. Now, the next thing to take into consideration for the Battlefront franchise is the new High Republic era, which has been shown to be Disney's next era that they're going to explore with Star Wars. And considering that, I think it's fair to say that means we could see some games regarding the High Republic to promote alongside the next trilogy if that's what it's centered around. And that is something that I do see a lot of people bringing up in the comments of my videos where we talk about the future of Star Wars games, and it's one of the main reasons I decided to do this video. A lot of you guys say that they're probably going to wait until the launch of this High Republic era in the mainstream films, and in turn get the Battlefront franchise going once again alongside, and I think that's a pretty fair assumption. It would make sense to release what is the most popular Star Wars gaming franchise alongside the launch of a new trilogy or film or whatever. For the High Republic, it all makes sense, but that is some time down the line. Now, I personally don't know a ton about this High Republic era. It's being explored with books or comics at least at first, and that's not really my scene with Star Wars. But I do know that it is set 200 years before the events of the Skywalker saga, so it does bear a lot of potential, and it's going to be cool to see more mainstream Star Wars content explored away from the Skywalker saga. And if that falls into line with a new Battlefront game, then I am down for that. I think that's a great idea. Now, whether they want to make the next Battlefront game a High Republic Battlefront spin-off, then I think that could be really cool as well. But I think ideally a Battlefront 3 game incorporating what we've seen in Battlefront 2 and the content that's going to be explored with this High Republic era could set us up for a huge Battlefront 3. And if that is the route that they want to go, then again, I am completely down for that. Now, obviously, all of that is a few years down the line at the minimum, and I know people are going to say, oh, but EA's Star Wars license would run out by then. Now, I said this in a previous video, so I didn't really want to repeat it here, but I'm going to have to just for the sake of this video. But I highly doubt that EA CEO would come out and say that they are doubling down on Star Wars if they didn't intend to keep the license. You don't double down on something that you plan on losing. And from all accounts, EA and Disney have a great relationship, so the license getting renewed is looking likely. That's all, of course, just speculation at this point. It's not confirmed, so make of it what you will. Who knows at this point? It's only what we perceive from what EA and or Disney have said. And like I said personally, I want EA to keep the license so that, DICE and Respawn can keep going with the amazing work they've done with the Battlefront and Fallen Order franchises. So yeah, hopefully that clears that up because I know a lot of people are going to say that. Now moving on, and I think one thing that needs to be taken into consideration when it comes to the Battlefront franchise is next-gen consoles. Now, I think a Battlefront 3 ready to go for next-gen consoles is just the ideal way to do it. I think next-gen consoles will need a AAA Star Wars title. Like, Star Wars is one of the most valuable IPs in gaming, and not seeing a next-gen release for Star Wars games in the near future would be kind of weird. It would seem like a bit of a missed opportunity. Now, doubling down on the Star Wars license has a lot of people thinking that it's going to be a series of quicker development time games like Squadrons, which is also a really plausible option and honestly not a bad idea. I think Battlefront spin-offs would be great, not just the High Republic one like we discussed earlier. Like, yeah, we might see Star Wars games unrelated to the Battlefront franchise come out over the next few years, but in my opinion, you're never really going to fully capitalize on Star Wars games if you don't have the Battlefront franchise interwoven in there somewhere. Whether that is a massive Battlefront 3 that kicks it up that next level from Battlefront 2 or a Battlefront spin-off. At this point with Battlefront being so popular, to have it off to the side with no current live service game, it's just not the ideal way to go. It's kind of like benching your star player, like, you know what I mean? But, I'm sure EA know that. Battlefront is huge and its potential is probably higher than any other game that they could create, so I would be very surprised if there was nothing in store for the Battlefront franchise in the next few years. Like, fast forward 3 years, if we don't have or at least know of a new Battlefront, I would be very, very surprised. If they release a Battlefront 3 that could get continued on with live service and it had a good business module with purchasable skins or cosmetics, then that game could be top dog for years and years, way longer than Battlefront 2 could have. It just doesn't really make sense ending Battlefront 2 if there wasn't some kind of plan for something Battlefront related down the line. But of course, only time is going to tell, but hopefully we find out something sooner rather than later. So guys, go ahead and let me know down in the comments what you think of all of this. Should there be a Star Wars Battlefront 3? Let me know down in those comments. And if you did go on to enjoy this video, then it would be great if you could drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And of course, a final thank you for 100,000 subscribers as well. Exciting times ahead for the channel indeed. But that is going to do it for me today. So thank you all for watching and have a good one.